It's fair to say that you've got your fingers on the pulse of tech and trying to figure out what's going on. It is your job to understand what's going on here. How has the tech trade and the price action shaped up against the fundamental earnings stories and outlooks that you've seen so far? Is it one where investors can still be generally more optimistic about that kind of price improvement going forward?
Yeah, I think to some extent, I mean, earnings has almost caught up to valuations. I mean, if you think about tech earnings, what you saw with the hyperscalers, Microsoft in particular, I think that was sort of the wow moment for investors, because now, even when you think this week, Cisco, and you look at CoreWeave, it's pieces of a puzzle. And it's all starting to come together where demand's accelerating. And I think you see that from the hyperscalers to chips to Palantir and others. And I think that is why you continue to see tech stocks move higher.
It's not that we haven't focused on things like cash flow ever, but there's been a hyper focus on cash flows in this quarter that just reported, or that is reporting right now, and maybe the last one or two. We saw the juxtaposition of Alphabet and their kind of cash flow commentary, and then Microsoft and their cash flow commentary. It seems to me that Microsoft understood the assignment after seeing what happened to Alphabet. How exactly do fundamental analysts now look at that cash flow generation against what's happening with the stock price movements? PE ratios are PE ratios, but cash flow is a huge focus more these days.
Yeah, I think Palantir would be a great example. I mean, look at that, from a cash flow perspective. I think on the CapEx to monetization, the reason the Microsoft quarter was so important for just broader tech, it shows, and I think they lay it out perfectly, is that the monetization is starting to happen. Look, CapEx, it requires patience. I mean, you can see when it comes to Alpha, even look what happened with Meta, but the reality now, it's starting to cross, where now you're starting to see the monetization. I think as an investor, investors need to look out not over 6 months, but over 12, 18, 24 months to what that cash flow is going to look like. And I think that's why we're starting to see that inflection point happening in tech.
And with intentions to go where no chip maker has gone before, into orbit, Nvidia has strengthened its hold on artificial intelligence, AI, computing. SpaceX and Nvidia announced on August 4th that they will collaborate to create the compute payload for the Starmind AI-1 satellite, which will use Nvidia's most recent hardware to handle demanding AI workloads from orbit. This is not a one-time event. SpaceX has presented a long-term plan that may potentially reach 1 million AI satellites. When combined, these satellites would function as a single enormous data center that circles the planet. For Nvidia, the dedication to this collaboration is even more noteworthy than the show. Elon Musk, the CEO of SpaceX, stated categorically that the business has decided to employ only Nvidia GPUs because the Vera Rubin architecture is the best architecture. That is about as powerful a recommendation as it gets, especially since it comes from the one client who has every incentive to make his own chips or find other options. Why Nvidia should care about this? This acquisition also demonstrates how quickly Nvidia's latest initiative is gaining traction. SpaceX was not one of the 6 partners listed by the firm when it introduced its space computing platform back in March. In a matter of months, the world's most ambitious space enterprise has also joined. The Vera Rubin platform from Nvidia is the hardware at the heart of this story. According to the business, it can give up to 25 times the AI performance of its H100 chips in orbit. This is significant because there may be a huge opportunity. According to Futurum Research, the market for orbital computing might reach $1 trillion by 2030 because to declining Starship launch costs and the power constraints that are limiting ground-based data centers. Nvidia stands to gain a great deal if that occurs. Moving computing to space makes more sense than it may seem. Earth's AI data centers are facing severe power, land, and cooling constraints. Satellites sidestep the very bottlenecks impeding data centers on Earth by receiving free, continuous solar energy and natural cooling while in orbit. The short-term return on investment for Nvidia stockholders is minimal. A network of 1 million satellites is still a long way off, and space chips won't be sent until later this year. Today, the deal's true worth lies in what it represents. Nvidia is being selected first for a market that hasn't even been developed yet, so it's no longer only winning on Earth. Although Nvidia's stock has increased by 24% in the last year, its performance has lagged behind that of the larger semiconductor industry. Over the same time span, the iShares Semiconductor ETF, SOXX, has more than doubled, surpassing Nvidia stock by a wide margin. In 2026, Nvidia has increased by about 20% year-to-date (YTD), while the exchange-traded fund (ETF) has increased by 80%. With a market valuation of almost $5.4 trillion, Nvidia is currently the most valuable corporation in the world. Despite being the defining stock of the AI era, Nvidia's pricing seems remarkably fair. While the price-to-sales (PS) ratio of 24.5 times is over its historical norm, the forward price-to-earnings (PE) ratio of 24.9 times is significantly below the 5-year normal. In actuality, the market is hedging its bets with the discount. Many investors are reluctant to pay the premium Nvidia formerly demanded because they believe the current demand is linked to an AI boom that may eventually cool. A deal like StarMind is important in this situation. Nvidia is lessening the concern that its growth is dependent on a single wave that might break by entering a completely new market. The earnings outlook reflects this similar anxiety. Growth is predicted by analysts to be 92% in fiscal 2027 and 38% in fiscal 2028. However, the valuation is further reinforced by the balance sheet. With only $13 billion in debt, Nvidia has over $53 billion in cash. The corporation has the flexibility to invest freely in new frontiers like space, thanks to the ensuing net cash of over $40 billion. Nvidia responds to investors' concerns about durability with partnerships like StarMind. On May 20th, Nvidia released its first quarter earnings, revealing $81.6 billion in revenue, an increase of 85% year-over-year, YOY. AI and hyperscale demand drove a 92% year-over-year increase in data center revenue to $75.2 billion. The Wall Street consensus forecast of $1.77 per share was easily surpassed by the non-GAAP EPS of $1.87. In Q1, the corporation generated record free cash flow of $48.6 billion. Nvidia offered upbeat advice for the future. The company anticipates that its data center and AI divisions will continue to grow. GAAP and non-GAAP gross margins are anticipated to be 74.9% and 75% respectively, with a projected total revenue of $91 billion in Q2. The company anticipates operating expense growth in the upper 40% range and comparable gross margins in the mid-70% range for the entire year. Future revenue growth is anticipated as a result of Nvidia's announcement of large expenditures in AI infrastructure and new product introductions, such as the Vera CPU and Rubin GPU systems. However, future revenue streams may be impacted by geopolitical uncertainty, especially in China. Kress pointed to the 7 distinct chips included in Nvidia's planned Vera Rubin platform, which the firm claims is scheduled for a third-quarter release, and stated, "No simple one chip would be able to solve that." SpaceX moved away from a mixed hardware strategy in favor of a full-system approach. During SpaceX's earnings call, Musk stated that the firm has chosen to use Nvidia exclusively for its AI computing moving forward. The Vera Rubin architecture, in our opinion, is the greatest. Musk stated, "We believe it's the best AI computer," adding that SpaceX cherishes its tight collaboration and alliance with Nvidia. According to Musk, the additional bandwidth will support both SpaceX's upcoming acquisition of Cursor, which he claims is nearing regulatory clearance, and Grok, the AI chatbot from his business xAI. By the end of next year, SpaceX hopes to have 20 gigawatts of power, cooling, and electrical equipment online. But Musk warned that this is a push goal. He stated that if about 25% of the projects are delayed, a more realistic result would be closer to 15 gigawatts. Musk claimed that SpaceX's experience with rockets and satellites gives it an advantage. He claimed that SpaceX and Tesla are the 2 greatest hardware firms on the planet, and that faster data center construction is directly related to the lessons learned from manufacturing rockets. Additionally, he stated that SpaceX anticipates receiving a sizable portion of Nvidia's GPU supply in the upcoming year. This is an important information considering how limited the industry's supply of chips has been. SpaceX is not a unique example. Ilya Sutskever's AI lab, Safe Superintelligence, and Nvidia announced a long-term collaboration. Nvidia is making a direct investment in the business and granting it access to the Vera Rubin platform, which SSI claims will enable it to scale its computation by a factor of 10. Sutskever stated in the release, "We have research that is worthy of scaling up, and having access to a big Nvidia computer will let us do so." Additionally, Nvidia is making more progress in the infrastructure that underpins AI manufacturing. The business presented new storage technology based on its Vera CPU at the Future of Memory and Storage conference, claiming that benchmarks show up to 3.21 times greater throughput than an x86 CPU in a compression and encryption pipeline. Nvidia is collaborating with over 40 storage providers on the project, including DDN, Kioxia, and Micron, MU. When combined, these actions reveal a pattern. AI labs, hyperscalers, and now a hardware-focused business like SpaceX are all coming together on the same platform. The approach was explained by NVIDIA networking executive Gilad Shainer at TD Cowen's Technology, Media, and Telecom conference. According to him, NVIDIA creates its systems as a unified unit and then sells each component separately, allowing users to mix and match as they see fit. Customers continue to return for each new generation of chips in part because of this flexibility, as well as the software advantage Kress mentioned. The SpaceX pledge is another indication that NVIDIA's lead in AI computing is growing for investors, keeping an eye on the company's shares. 2 months ago, the artificial intelligence, AI market appeared extremely unstable. NVIDIA's stock price reached a record high of $235 per share on May 14th, giving the business a $5.7 trillion market capitalization. Investors then started to worry that the AI boom was outpacing reality. AI shares suffered throughout the ensuing weeks, with NVIDIA's falling 15% and AI hyperscalers Alphabet and Amazon each falling 11%. At that point, Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, provided AI investors some astounding advice. Has his counsel paid off after 2 months? Huang concluded a collaboration with South Korean memory chipmaker SK Hynix to create next-generation AI memory chips while in Seoul for a number of business engagements. The CEO of NVIDIA spoke candidly to reporters in between sessions. Regarding the AI boom, he stated, "We're at the beginning of it, and whatever happened to the stock market, you should be very happy because you can now buy at a discount. Everyone ought to be ecstatic." Put differently, Huang saw June 8 as a significant chance to buy the dip in NVIDIA and other AI stocks. Was he correct? Was he ever? In fact, investors would now be marginally outperforming the market if they had followed Huang's advice and gone all in on NVIDIA's stock on June 8th. Since June 8th, NVIDIA's stock has increased by 5.1%, while the S&P 500 has only increased by 4.3%, giving Huang a 0.8% advantage. However, that is not the entire tale. You would be doing really well if you had taken Huang's remarks more broadly to include the entire AI sector and instead bought a basket of AI equities that contained equal parts NVIDIA, Google, Amazon, and hyperscaler Microsoft. Due in large part to the quality of their recent earnings reports, Amazon's stock has increased 11.1% since June 8th, while Microsoft's has increased 18.5%. The only company that has behind the market is Alphabet, which is actually down 0.5% since June 8th. On the other hand, your 4-stock AI basket would have yielded returns of 8.5%, which is roughly twice the gain of the S&P 500 during the same time frame. Naturally, if you were to sell those stocks now, those would be the gains. Huang, however, was not referring to a 2-month AI boom. He claims that the current, enormous investment in AI is only the beginning and is looking years into the future. He is projecting strong long-term gains for AI firms spanning years rather than months. It's tempting to sell your AI stocks while they're outperforming the market. However, if you think Jensen Huang is an expert in his field, which I most definitely do, the wisest course of action is to hang on to such equities for a long time. What expectations do analysts have for NVIDIA stock? Varun Govindaraj, a Bernstein analyst, has reaffirmed his buy rating for NVIDIA with a $315 price target. This price prediction represents a 41% potential increase over present levels. Overall, analysts have a bullish outlook due to the AI tailwind, and some have given positive ratings as well. For NVIDIA stock, Wells Fargo analyst Aaron Rakers has a buy rating and a $315 price target. The consensus rating for Nvidia stock is strong buy, based on analysis from 47 Wall Street analysts. Of those analysts, 1 has a strong sell recommendation, 3 have a moderate buy rating, and 43 have a strong buy rating. Strong optimism in Nvidia's long-term growth prospects is reflected in the mean price target of $304.30, which suggests potential upside of 36% from here. The S&P 500 appears to be unable to stop rising. According to Bloomberg terminal statistics, as of Friday's end, the index had reached 25 all-time highs in 2026 alone, after 39 last year and 57 in 2024. Finding the next record is not the true issue for long-term investors. It's figuring out what to do after they no longer surprise you. According to Jonathan Levin of Bloomberg Opinion, second quarter earnings are expected to increase 29% year over year, and analysts are increasing their 12-month EPS projections at a rate he describes as abnormally rapid. The S&P 500 is up 13.7% on a total return basis through August 7th, the 7th best start to a year in 33 years, demonstrating the strength of earnings. That's noteworthy for another reason. While consecutive double-digit improvements are not uncommon, consecutive years with gains of 20% or more are 2023's 26.3% and 2024's 25.0% were the first in 25 years. The index has now recorded 3 consecutive double-digit years after adding 2025's 17.9% total return. A fourth is easily achievable. Nevertheless, 3 consecutive double-digit years are not equivalent to 3 consecutive years of low prices. The forward price-to-earnings ratio of the S&P 500 has increased in tandem with the index, indicating that investors are increasingly contributing to these gains by paying more for each dollar of anticipated earnings rather than just the earnings themselves. By itself, that is hardly a warning sign. It serves as a reminder that the multiple expansion that has fueled part of this run might reverse just as swiftly if the earnings growth Levin highlights doesn't continue. A helpful gut check may be found in Bloomberg's own research. In 17 cases since the S&P 500 reached a new high in 1996, the median return over the next 6 months was 8.25%, and 13 of those 17 periods, 76.5%, ended up positive. Of course, that's a likelihood rather than a guarantee. The exception that demonstrates this is that in 2007, just before the financial crisis, a 6-month period of 12.33% loss was preceded by a new high. Momentum and safety are not the same thing, as investors who interpreted the breakout as a green signal discovered the hard way. A second wrinkle is worth mentioning. According to RBC Wealth Management, 7 stocks, not the Magnificent Seven, accounted for slightly more than half of the index's gains in 2025, with Nvidia contributing 15.5% of the total. That list was completed by companies like Alphabet, Microsoft, and Palantir Technologies, which differed significantly from Micron and Apple's present roster. The position of leadership is rotated. Even if the index continues to rise, the equities driving today's surge are not assured a repeat performance next year. History is bullish in this case. A median 6-month gain of 8.25% after a new high, with 76.5% of previous cases ending higher, is a true advantage rather than noise. However, probably isn't certainly, because 2007 offers evidence that the pattern can be broken. Smart investors should view this surge as a cause for optimism rather than complacency. Keep in mind that the 76.5% probability is really captured by buying the S&P 500 index rather than placing a wager on the stock that generated last year's gains.